What's something that you've experienced now in your life that you would never have experienced if you were still Catholic?
My kid, the way I experience my kid now, awakening a mind. It's awesome. I don't think I would have ever experienced it the same way. Just being able to help this mind awaken.
Welcome to Voices of Deconversion. We share the inspirational stories of deconversion told by former Christians who are now atheist or agnostic. Our stories remind us we're in it together. They encourage us as we discover who we are and help us to embrace who we become. Now here's Steve with today's guest.
Welcome back for episode 25, part 2. This is the second half of my conversation with Gerardo Romero. In this half of the interview, we get into some really interesting topics. I really enjoyed what Gerardo had to say when he talked about raising his child now that he's a skeptic, and how it differs from how he would have raised his child when he was Catholic. And you heard part of that in the quote at the beginning of the episode. We get into some really interesting discussions, and he has a couple quotes from movies like Interstellar and The Matrix and comparisons to how those relate to our lives as atheists, and I thought it was really fascinating. If you haven't listened to part 1, go back and listen to that, and it'll bring you up to speed with where we're at in the interview today. We pick up the interview where Gerardo has just discovered that he's agnostic, and he's telling his liberal Catholic parents. Their response is very surprising to him.
I was happy. It was for me, it was like an epiphany and said, Mom, I'm an agnostic. Because I thought, it never occurred to me that they were going to be so shocked. Because I as I told you, I had a liberal upbringing. Even if I was Catholic, it was a liberal upbringing. And it were maybe like 7, 8 very difficult years, maybe 10 or 12 difficult years for me. I've spent maybe a couple of years in therapy, and well, my mom couldn't help it. Okay, you have seen some videos of Christian mothers and stuff, so okay, I'll leave that around because I don't think she'll ever see this interview. But it was difficult. It was
so she was pretty upset when you told her then?
Yeah, really, really upset.
Oh no.
And there were years of discussions of being the black sheep and all that stuff. Eventually, my brother came about too, that I'm an atheist too. So you see what happened? You see what sample you set for your brother? Now you're both going to hell or whatever.
Hell. Yeah.
And but he never was the focus of any arguments because he was just in the sidelines. He said, okay, I'm going to support you. Yes, I'm an atheist too, but I don't care. I'm always the feisty one. I'm always I can't stand shot. Okay, I eventually developed this system of the three bullshits. I hear one bullshit, I stay quiet. Second bullshit. When I hear the third bullshit, I go, okay, come on, man, let's talk about this, because I kept going into arguments all the time. Eventually, I think you just grow up and say, it's not worth it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. My mom also responded in a pretty negative way. Well, not negative like bad. She was just really upset and was in tears. I mean, I called her on the phone to tell her because I don't think I could have faced her, you know? Mm-hmm. So I was on the phone telling her. But yeah, so I experienced, my mother just being really upset and like my dad being like just totally distraught, and so I know what that feels like. And then for me, it was also like the next 12 years were really, really hard trying to find who I was and like, what do I believe now? So I totally understand what you're saying.
Now you can't talk about this. Back in the day, there's nothing. Your friends were your books. God is not great. Atheists, the case against God. Losing faith in fate from Dan Barker. What else I read? I read a bunch of stuff. God, the failed hypothesis.
What year was that when you realized you were an agnostic?
2001, 2002.
Okay, and wasn't that when you started? Oh, and that's when you started dating your wife, right?
Yeah. I had spent like 3 months in Deconversion when I really started dating. So she basically knew me this way. Okay,
Okay.
maybe being a snobby atheist, maybe being
How did you guys find it? How'd you find each other? I mean, you said, back in the day, I mean, Mexico's such a Catholic country. How did you find another agnostic at the time?
she has had a bad background in religion. For her, for example, she arrived at this conclusion basically because she had a really rough childhood, and at some
Okay.
point said, okay, there can be a God that wants this for me. So she really started caring about religion. Says, I don't really care at all. So she's just an agnostic. And for example, right now, my kid is almost 4 years old, and hopefully she's gonna have it better than us.
Yeah.
For me, it's okay if you get 18 and you want to go convert to a cult or whatever. I think I gave you critical skills, and if you want to do it, okay, I'm okay with that. But I'm still gonna question you. Okay, there's gonna be debate. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But I think you need a certain degree of indoctrination to actually believe in
Yeah.
supernatural.
It's the difference between learning, being told what to think or being taught how to think.
Exactly.
Right. So if you teach a child, like, I want to teach my kids, you want to teach your child,
Mm-hmm.
how to think critically about anything. If they go down a different path, they become religious. I might be bummed, but I'm not going to be like, no.
No, the thing is gonna be debate in our table every night. So get ready. Okay, it's different.
Yeah.
So the excitement, the thing is different. I'm not gonna be like underwhelmed or disappointed. Okay, maybe a little,
Yeah, like a little,
but
right?
it's gonna
Yeah.
be different. And still, the probability of that actually happening is difficult. Is small.
Yeah.
For example, I have a couple of friends. One of them is he's one of his parents is German, and his mother is Mexican.
Okay.
And he spent jumping around during his childhood. He spent it a bunch of time in Colombia, in Russia,
Oh, wow.
Germany. So she speaks fluent German, English, Spanish like a local, some Russian, Italian, and his wife it was kind of like an atheist, but then she had an illness, so now she's like a Hindu. It's weird.
Oh,
She's
wow.
she's into all that Hindu shit and revelation and reincarnation stuff. She
Yeah.
actually has a school of that kind of thought for Buddhism and I don't know the words. There are a bunch of words there. The Habara and the meditation and all that crazy stuff.
Wow.
And they go on pretty well. And their kids are atheists. One is almost 14 years old, and the other kid is 10 years old, and they're atheists. They haven't had any kind of Catholic any kind of religious indoctrination whatsoever,
Yeah.
and they're
Okay.
doing pretty well. In the case of my kid, she's almost 4 years old. We tried to give her a gift. The gift is she speaks English. She first spoke English here. The
Oh,
trick
wow.
is basically from birth we spoke in English to her all the time. So he first spoke English, and then when he went over to daycare, she learned Spanish. So now she's fluent in English. She speaks with us in English and goes about just like the Texans or the Mexican immigrants do, but the
Yeah.
other way around. They speak Spanish at home and they go out and learn the English. That's the trick. So you want to
That's
do
cool.
something like that, whatever. If you are fluent in German or your language, when you have kids, speak to them in that language, and the world will teach you the other. And when they reach like 4 or 5 years old, the brain is segmented that way. So it's easier for them to learn more languages
Oh, wow.
because they can learn. They already have the skills to do the match, and it's very
Yeah.
natural. At the beginning, it was very difficult for us to change, and okay, we have to force us to speak in English. These days is natural. You turn to her and you speak in English, and you back up to the person you're speaking to, and you speak in Spanish. Sorry.
That's cool.
I've been spending 10 years in my present job working
Uh-huh.
with Americans, British, and some French, but everything in English. So it was kind of natural. Basically, I was inspired by this guy. This is the guardian of our kid. He's actually the guardian.
Uh-huh.
So I was inspired, and we're doing that way. So no religion. My mom, these days, we get along pretty well. We still get into argument, but for other things, not religion anymore. So you, in the end, you see it was not really about religion in the end. The
It's
important part is always an argument. I'm her kid, the kid that always get into argument with her. There are other
and you'll
kids.
remain that forever.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And for example, sometimes she tells me she's taking her to church maybe 2 or 3 times. Okay, I'm going. She's in the choir, in the parish choir.
Mm-hmm.
She sings and she helps a lot in the parish. I said, can I take her? Go ahead. If you talk of something, if she talks to her about God, and sometimes she makes
She
the,
will.
the 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 sign of the cross to her. The important thing is what she receives from us, because we are the
Yeah.
figures of authority. And I've read about this. There are a couple of very good books by McGowan. I don't remember. It's McGowan is Raising Free Thinkers.
Oh, Dale McGowan. Yeah, Parenting Beyond Belief.
Yeah, Parenting Beyond Belief
I
and
read that.
Raising Free Thinkers. We had him actually in 2012. We had him here, come over here for a workshop.
Oh, cool.
It was nice. And
What group? The ATOs Mexicanos
yeah,
group?
yeah,
Okay, you guys had him out in 2012. That's pretty cool.
yeah. We made a bunch of stuff. The thing is, I had the time. It's all,
Yeah,
it's
that's
all.
it. And you have a young child. I mean, you gotta, you squeeze in what you can do when you have time to do it. My kids are teenagers now, so I'm finding more time to start a podcast and do things like that. So
That's what I think is gonna happen to me. Maybe in 15 years. Okay, where was that association? Where that?
yeah, yeah. Where's my paperwork again?
Yeah, exactly, something like that. So something
Well,
to do eventually.
tell me when you first initially told your mom and things weren't that well and you were kind of having some difficulties, like you said, you had to go to therapy and things were just difficult. The transition from Catholic to agnostic was hard. What was the most helpful thing for you? What helped you get through those times?
Well, important was my girlfriend, now my wife. She was supportive, so she was good. Not amazingly good, because she didn't share that passion, but she was there, and there was more than enough. And eventually this thing, for example, 2007, 2008, with the bulletin boards, finding more people like me, like, okay, I'm not crazy, there are more people like me near me. It was very important. Again, community is top notch. It's very, very important. And we're social animals in the end, or human animals, as some people down here would like to
Yeah.
like the term. So we're social, and having someone that think like you near you or nearby is very important. I think I just went along with it like the first 4 or 5 years. Something that was important for me too was that I got out from my parents' home. I went out to live alone in 2005. Really, I just spent maybe like 3 or 4 years there. It was difficult because staying there for longer, because I love video games, and at that point, the online game was the best thing that happened to us. And since I work nights, I came up at home like 10, 11 p.m. and I spent like 4 or 5 hours until the early hours in the morning. Damn it, dude! Run, man! Gun him down! Gun. So it was difficult. I was the atheist, the noisy guy in the night. So at some point, say, this is enough. I have to get out, and that really helped. It was terrifying. It was difficult, but in the end, now looking back at it, I think it was the best decision I could take at the moment. Like being for myself. My girlfriend helped me quite a lot. From buying furniture and doing groceries.
So who were you living with when you said you were playing video games late at night? Who you
I,
who
I,
you
wa- I was still living with my parents.
Oh, gotcha. That's what I thought you said. Okay.
So
Yeah, so then when you moved out, that
yeah,
helped. Ah, well, that makes
that
sense.
helped.
Yeah.
I kept doing it, but I lived with a couple of guys, and they didn't mind because most of the time they were awake at the moment. They were doing.
Yeah.
This guy
Yeah.
was a PC gamer, superior gamer race, and the other guy was his stepfather, and he was young enough, and he was dating, and he was out. So
Yeah.
it's a man. So I spent a year living with them, and eventually moved out for myself. And I spent maybe 2005, maybe 3 or 4 years, and then eventually arrived here. at the apartment I'm living in. Eventually bought it. My girlfriend came to live with me, and eventually we got married, and that's it.
That's cool.
I paid it in full at the beginning of the year, so we're saving now for a house, maybe for next year. So things are coming along.
Things are coming along. That's cool.
Yeah. Now we're in the middle of a 5-year program where we started first cutting debt, then saving. Now we have an account, in some investments. We're now trying to do a local business. So it's a local food business. Let's see how it goes. So that's why everything is so upside down.
Mm-hmm. So you and your wife are starting that business?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. What kind of food do you guys selling?
It's difficult to describe. It's basically Mexican food. Food from the state of Querétaro. It's not very known over there. It's actually not very popular, but I expect to make it popular down here. The thing is, my mom is from there, so is the recipes and stuff come from their family.
From that part of the country?
Yeah, from Querétaro.
Where?
Querétaro.
Okay, where is that?
It's like maybe say 200. Okay, let's put mile, like 130 miles from Mexico City.
Okay, and that's just where this particular type of food is really popular?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
It's a small town. In Querétaro, the small town this is really going to be a tongue twister for you. Tequisquiapan.
I won't try to say it. I'll let you say it. Because I can't. I'm horrible.
So my mom is from there, so we started here. So the folks around here have liked it. So we have been doing it on weekends for like 4 or 5 months. Okay. And now we're moving into a local space. And so we're shooting for an opening at the beginning of next month.
Nice.
See how it goes.
Yeah, well, best of luck to you. I hope it goes well. Yeah, I'm sure it is.
So that's pretty much it. Not much else to talk about. I don't know how interesting it could be. Hopefully interesting enough.
I think so.
I hope that my English is enough for you guys to understand and to enjoy. Actually enjoy if it could be that way. About this small story I think. Yeah. I think it's the same story for a bunch of people. I've learned this. I heard these kind of stories over and over and over again. They share a bunch of similar points, but it makes us feel like tight. Like
it's a common journey.
Better.
It's a common journey we've taken.
See, and well, in the end, we'll see how it goes. I hear in America, religiousness is dropping down. Right. The problem is Europe is getting in the ass by the Muslims. Not that all Muslims are bad. The thing is, the kind of Muslims they're getting is like just like the Mexicans that cross over. I think most Americans don't like immigration from Mexico because of the kind of Mexicans that you usually get. Poor people, desperate people. Yes, because I worked for 10 years with Americans. I have never got anything less than respect. Yeah. Appreciation is very nice. Maybe it's the kind of way it's different when you work like that than when you immigrate, as they usually do.
And I think it's there are certain Americans who will never like immigrants, or certain Americans will just have prejudices toward whoever is the outsider. And I think that's true in any country. I mean, that's my assumption.
Happens down here in Mexico too.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to have people who are just ignorant and
we're getting a bunch of Chinese down here these days, a bunch of guys from Honduras, Nicaraguans. Mm-hmm. And you see them now. You see them every day in crossings. In 10 years ago, that wouldn't happen. They will go straight over to America, and now we see them. In street crossings and stuff. You see them working. We're actually people are giving work to these guys. So maybe, just maybe, we're evolving into a more first world country. Because now, if you see Mexico and you see other parts of Latin America, look, for example, at Argentina, Venezuela. Okay, Venezuela is something else. But let's see, Argentina, Brazil. The Brazilian miracle it went up in smoke because of socialist policies. So that's when the conservative vein in me comes about and say, capitalism, like if you want to progress, if you want to get better, you need hard work, savings, and capitalism. And in that case, is capitalism in the form of investment. You have to invest your money, save your money, work hard. So that, when I speak about that, the guys in the left see, you're a right wing, you're a conservative. No, I just like to keep what I earn. Okay, that's it. I just like to do hard work. That's why I'm a libertarian. We take some stuff from each side, and we like to keep what is ours. That's
Yeah.
tax stuff and all about that.
Yeah. Well, I just have a couple more questions for you if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So when you think back on the Catholic version of yourself, what do you think about that person now?
Actually, if you ask me right now, I think the Catholic version of myself was nicer than the near the converted guy that I became after.
Right.
Because I was very adamant, I was very snobby, I was jerky, I was like I was really cocky, I think, and I've seen this happen to a bunch of people in that phase. So if you ask me, I think the Catholic version of myself was nicer.
What's something that you've experienced now in your life that you would never have experienced if you were still Catholic?
Oh, my kid, the way I experience my kid now, easy as
Cool.
pie. The first thing that popped in my mind, experiencing my kid awaking a mind. It's awesome. I don't think I would have ever experienced it the same way, because I know, or I'm pretty sure this is the only life, and I have to experience it to the fullest. And just being able to help this mind awaken, experience the world, and find us together in this universe, in this particular moment, this way, it will have been totally different. The perspective would have been so different.
That's awesome.
Well, thanks.
That's awesome. I love that answer.
It's just popped into my mind. Just popped into my mind.
Now that's so true. As any parent out there, I think could totally relate to that. I feel the same way about my kids. Like, just you just want to like you're a caretaker of their life and of their mind, and to be the person you are today when you're raising your child, it's awesome because you get to set that little person up for success. You know.
This is one of the best things. I love pop culture, and I usually like to go quoting around. If you did you watch Interstellar?
Ooh, I think I did. Is that the movie with Amy Adams?
No, that's
That's
The
The
Arrival.
Arrival. Okay.
No, Interstellar is the one that with McConaughey, and they go into a black, so near to a black hole that time elongates.
Yeah,
It
I did
affects
see
time.
that.
Okay, there's this quote from Coop. It's Cooper, is the McConaughey character, and it says at some point, says, when you have kids, the moment you have kids, all you want to do is protect them, and once you have kids, you are the ghost of their future. That is so deep. It struck me down. I always say it. Once you have a kid, you're the ghost of their future.
Wow.
And it's really deep. It really hits me from an atheist standpoint, because if you were religious, you say, okay, we'll meet together, or we'll go and
Right.
see, Johnny, hey, whatever. But really, really struck me down. It really makes a point that, yes, okay, everything you leave them, you're gonna be living in eventually in their mind, in their thoughts, in their memories,
Right.
and you're gonna be a ghost of their past, and you're gonna mold them into the future.
Wow.
So for me, that's really important. That one was really late after my deconversion. One that was closer was Creation, the story from Charles Darwin. Have you seen that?
Create.
With Paul Bettany. With Paul Bettany, is the story of Charles Darwin.
Oh, yeah, I did see that. Yeah, yep. That was really a good movie.
For me, it was the most important, or the most striking aspect of the movie was the relationship of him with his daughter, that eventually dies, and his relationship with the chimp, the small chimp that eventually dies too. And it strikes me down that it's important. It's life is finite. That's why it's precious. And that perspective is the one that I wanted to instill in my child. And that wouldn't have happened in a million years if I had stayed Catholic. Okay, I would have loved her or loved them because I want to have two. It's getting difficult these days, but eventually, I don't think it would have been the same thing. That's the thing. I think I experienced totally different.
That's really cool.
If you have ever gotten that answer, for me, it struck there just like that. It's really deep because
That's really cool.
It encompasses a new mind, and the way to experience the world because of one thing that you experienced at some point in your life that changed everything. Your complete mental framework shifted, and that's something that will have experienced different.
Yeah. When you think about that entire experience of deconversion that you went through, is there something, when you think about what you personally went through, is there something you're most proud of? Proud in a good way, like proud of yourself for?
Actually, deconverting, being able to get out of religion. That's the whole point. Maybe it looks like too obvious, but really that's the thing. Okay, there's some respect to be had there. For this guy, I tell you, the guardian of my child, it's my dear friend. He was or is in a position like my child or his children, that they're not being indoctrinated. So they really he can't grasp how hard or how big the hold of religion can be for someone. So just as you have to be, in my opinion, you have to have a great deal of respect for someone that starts a business, works hard, and gets to success. For me, I think, okay, it looks a little pretentious. It may sound a little pretentious, but for me, is something to keep respect about for someone that actually is able to get out of the hold of religion. But it's because it's a ball and chain for your mind. And being able to actually get out is something that deserves a great deal of respect. Maybe for me it wasn't that hard. I don't know. It was hard, the process, not actually hard those very first steps. But I think it's just because I didn't think that I was too indoctrinated. I was able like okay, this doesn't add up, this doesn't look good, okay, this doesn't work, let's change the picture. But some more people are or other people are a lot more into it, and it's very difficult. And being able to break up from that, I think it deserves a great deal of respect.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. And going against your family, going against your culture, that's never easy, no matter what the issue.
And I'm going to say it out loud. I'm sorry. It deserves a great set of balls. It doesn't matter if you're a woman or whatever. Like, you have ovaries, man. Like, woman, you have ovaries, or man, you have balls, because it breaks away with everything.
Yeah.
Something so deep, so rooted in yourself that going away from religion breaks up everything. And at many points in that journey, you feel like, I would like to go back, but you can't fool your mind.
Once you know it, you can't unknow it.
And it's very difficult for me, for my mom. I tried to explain it several times. Okay, it's like trying to believe in the Magi again, in the Three Wise Men, or in Santa Claus. Or it's like, okay, I just saw a movie a couple of weeks ago, I want to forget it. You can't do it. Once you see, you can't forget the movie.
It's an experience you went. Yeah, it's an experience you went through. You can't ungo through it. Yeah,
exactly.
That's a weird way for me to say it, but yeah.
And at some points, sometimes she says, okay, the religion is like a crutch. It helps you. And I tell her, okay, I don't deny the benefits of religion. They're there. They're very real. The thing is, you can't fool your mind. You can't go back. And it's a concept that is, I think, for most believers, it's impossible to grasp. And the best analogy I can usually make is that trying to imagine how it is to be dead. how is to be non-existent. It's something, okay, you come from inexistence, from a sea of inexistence to a small raft of existence, and eventually to a sea of inexistence for all eternity. But you can't imagine yourself to be unaware.
Right. It's just really hard.
Exactly. So that's the same thing. For a believer to imagine themselves not believing or getting out, it's basically impossible unless they go through the same process.
Well, when you think back through your entire, I guess your entire life up to this point, you went through a big change. It wasn't super traumatic for you at the moment, but then obviously encountering your family and having to like make sense of it, that was hard. But the Catholic version of yourself compared to the current version of yourself, what part of you stayed the same? Because those are two different people, but what about you stayed the same?
I will say my values, my appreciation for life is the same. I'm the same person. I just don't believe in God. You're basically the same person. Okay, I was cockier. I was maybe a jerk.
You were also younger.
But
yeah.
I felt the same. I felt the same. Most people will say I was not, but I felt the same. In essence, if we take myself at the beginning of the journey and now up to this point, and I say I've been at this point maybe for 4 years now. I haven't changed that much since then. I think you get to a point of stability there. Then there really is something different in the way to handle people or to approach to people. These days, I really, really need something that pisses me off or something for being vocal about it. I never stop. I never shut myself. Okay, I'm vocal about something, but it needs something to really piss me off. When back in the day, it was like snap at the very first opportunity. I will just snap, go, and I'm gonna rip your head, you damn believer. I'm gonna tell you the truth. And it's weird because that was thinking about it in retrospective. That was really freaking arrogant. Something I really don't like about believers. I was really freaking arrogant.
That happens to the best of us. And like I said, you were younger then, and you were excited about this new kind of reality that you discovered,
Yeah, you want to share it with everybody. And I think that's the same process that most converts go through. Mm-hmm. So in the end, it's maybe the same person. I think you just change like the lenses. Like if you're wearing glasses and you change for a new set of glasses and you see the world different, but if you think about it, you're still the same person looking through those glasses. It's just that it looks different.
I like that.
You may react different, but you still are the same person. You just looking through a different set of glasses through the world or through reality.
I like that. That's a good analogy. Well, what do you like best about being a skeptic?
If you ask me, there are a bunch of stuff to hate. Because you have to see and withstand people believing in homeopathy, alternative medicine, ghosts, and a bunch. So that's the hard part. Like, oh my goodness, how can this be so? Like I used to go, oh my Thor. Okay, I adapted some of my expressions because they are so religious sometimes. As I say, oh my Thor. Okay, Thor, be with you. But so something I like is being aware. Okay, like you're out of the dream, like you're out of the matrix, and that makes you special. It's just like when a kid gets out of believing in Santa Claus, stops believing in Santa Claus, and you handle it well, you can tell, okay, now you're a big kid. Now you help us keeping the magic for the younger ones. And you feel special. So that thing is like being aware, and you can't stop but feeling a little bit of pity for the people that still in the matrix. For me, the best one is like it's the matrix. You have to experience. That's the way we just talked about the process. Unless you go through a process of leaving the matrix, you can't understand and see what is the matrix.
You won't. Yeah, it's just too hard to wrap your mind around it.
You can explain. Actually, Morpheus says it in one of his lines. Nobody can be told what is the matrix. They have to experience for themselves and to see what's going on. And so that's the thing that I like from being skeptic is like, okay, I think sometimes I'm not perfect, I can be fooled, but I'm difficult to be fooled. And I think I approach pretty much everything with a skeptical mind. I'm gonna go questioning, and I think I can do a lot of good. I'm always the guy in the room that say, "Okay, I don't understand this. Can you explain it better?" I think that the only bad questions are the ones that aren't asked. If you are the only bad question is the question that isn't asked.
Yeah.
Okay, so that thing is the thing I like to be a skeptic. Again, a bunch of things to hate because it's like, okay, it sounds awful, but it's like being in a room full of baboons. Damn it, everybody, like, again, alternative medicine, populism. I'm talking about politics, populism, uh, guys, taking away your money, multi-level marketing that is bullshit too. And each corner around, you turn, and at every corner, you see fake stuff.
Yeah, you
And that is
notice it.
difficult.
Yeah, because it's the type of person you are. You notice all those things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's a man behind the curtain. Okay, there's a man behind the curtain. There's no real magic. So that's like a little bit of a
Yeah.
bummer. But
But you're
well,
enlightened now, and you're seeing reality for what it is. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's always, again, is like being aware.
So I started the podcast as I told you before we jumped on. I think it was before we jumped on. For people who were like what you and I used to be, recently deconverted Christians. So people who
Hmm.
used to be Christian, they're deconverted. What
Hmm.
encouragement or piece of guidance would you give someone like that?
For starting points for that, okay, for people that started down this path and started this journey, okay, especially for the guys or gals or every people involved in such journey, at the beginning of the journey, I will say it gets better. Just like the guys that are bullied in high school, don't worry, it gets better. It looks difficult, it's tough, but it gets better in
Cool.
the end. And you are actually, if you're going through it right now, you're actually in a great position because you have the internet, you have forums, you have Facebook, you have social media. We didn't have that back in the day. We had the
Yeah.
internet, yes, but there was not cohesion. There was nothing like the social media, the social networks are there available
Yeah.
right now. You can go into Xbox Live and find atheists, for God's sake. Uh, and then you are in a good position. So I would like to tell them
It's
it gets better. For the guys, or for the people in general that are already there or already they converted and went over through that, I will say, good for you.
yeah.
Consider yourself special.
What's a resource you would recommend for someone like that? And if you can think of anything for people who live in Mexico, that would be that would be cool.
For people in Mexico, really, there are a bunch of forums in Facebook. But again, if you ask me, the problem with atheist forum in Mexico is they're full of leftists.
Oh, that's that's what you don't like.
They're full of socialists, and I hate them. The thing here is in Mexico, basically, for the most part of the 20th century, if you were an atheist, you were a socialist. If not, you were a Catholic. So the only atheists were the leftists, were the
Well,
socialists.
so there's going to be listeners who lean that way, and I'm
It's
for
okay.
I'm for the atheists and agnostics. So, um, you don't have to promote groups you don't want to, but yeah. Do you know
The
any?
thing is going that way is basically you leave one drug to get hooked into another. That is status and love for the state. Oh, give me, give me, give me, and eventually it's difficult. That's a problem with a bunch of guys for millennials these days. They're having very very high issues because they didn't confront the world. They didn't face the fears and stuff, and they are having a tough
Hmm.
time. And that's where this saying was created a while ago that says, if by 16 you're not a socialist, you have no heart, and if by 25 you're not a capitalism, you have no brains.
Interesting. Yeah.
When you're you're young, where you live with your parents. Oh, that poor guy. Let's help him. Let's give them. Oh, after all, daddy gives me money and everyone. But when you get to 25 or something, you pay taxes and stuff. And if somebody, oh, please give me 30% of your stuff, you say, come on, man, I'm working hard. Why do I have to give it to you? Because if not, you're gonna put me in jail. So good for only the coming out, for the atheists or the atheists to be, or the guy doubting their religion. For me, a real nice guy is Don Barker. It's a good friend. I haven't been able to keep in touch, but he's very active. The Freedom from Religion Foundation, I like a lot their approach. They're very nice. Their work is very, very important, if you ask me. So Losing Faith in Faith is a good book. It's a nice book. It's actually available in their site in Spanish. It's of the few books that is in Spanish. I think it's a PDF over there. You have to look. Is Losing Faith in Spanish is Perdiendo la Fe en la Fe. Losing Faith in Faith. It's in Spanish. It's a good resource because it talks about his experience. For me, good books are the ones that talk about experience. From the ones that I've read, the deeper ones like Hitchens, God is Not Great, or The Missionary Position for the one against Mother Teresa, and that is usually a little bit harder to read. It's a harder read. I found myself that the ones that you relate to the person talking about to you from the book, that going through that experience, going through that awakening, I think it's better than the deeper books. That's something that you read or you interact with farther along the road. At the beginning, it's usually better to read about experiences just like the ones you're having at the moment. So for me, that will be a good recommendation. Or for movies, one that's very nice, The Man from Earth, from Jerome Bixby.
The Man from Earth.
The Man from Earth.
Oh.
It's nice in about, like, you can laugh a bit because not giving away or any spoilers or whatever, but it makes the analogy with one particular religious figure that is it's a bit popular in the United States. You can figure who that is. Who that religious figure that is just a little bit popular in the U.S. And it's a different explanation that is actually a lot more plausible for his existence than actually being the Son of God, and still quite implausible, quite difficult to happen. But when you analyze it, you think about it, it's tremendously, enormously more possible than the zombie Jew.
Oh.
I get. The figure is basically, and it's at the beginning of the movie, it says what would happen if a guy from the Paleolithic was able to live up to this day.
Yeah.
The guy was born in the Paleolithic, and it's an explanation for Jesus that is different. And he says, okay, that's incredibly improbable, and still a lot more possible than the alternative explanation. There can be a bunch of other explanations for the existence of Jesus, but in this case, so that's one really good. And Creation, and the last one that is, it was very, I drew a lot of inspiration. It was very, very nice. It's Agora, from Alejandro Amenabar.
Oh, how do you spell the?
Is Alpha Golf Oscar Romeo Alpha Agora.
Oh, is it about that female scientist in Egypt? Yes, saw that. That was amazing. Yeah, Rachel Weisz, I think.
It takes a little bit of artistic license. She wasn't really killed like that, but gets the point home. You get very inspired about it. I like that a lot. So that will be some of the things I can share with you guys. Sadly, there's not much in Spanish for the guys, but for the people down here or Spanish-speaking people, the Colombians have a bunch of stuff. If you go to Colombian sites, Colombia is very vocal these days. They went through their awakening after us. They have a more religious involvement in their politics than us, but they're doing a bunch of nice stuff there. They have several sites, Atheists of Bogotá, Atheists de Cali, Atheists de Colombia. There are different groups that are doing very well down there, and they're fighting the good fight.
That's awesome. So I might send you a message on Twitter sometime in the future to get you to
sure.
Give me a link or something. That way it'd be easy to, because I can't with Spanish as a second language, I
like to think that we start friendships. So
yeah, it'd be cool because then I can kind of try to connect people or put the links to those groups on my website, and then if people find them.
Sure. It all helps people around to get together. And again, if you want any resource I can provide, and if I can find the time these days, it will be my pleasure. And I'm thankful that you asked about this interview. And it's weird because it's always me. When we were creating the organization, I was reluctant to be the president. Everybody said, "Okay, you have to be the president," but I said, "No, the money is more important because it's the temptation. So no, I'm gonna be the treasurer." So I ended being the treasurer. A girl is her president, but all the time I was the one. Okay, Gerardo, this guy wants an interview, or someone needs to talk about this. I was always the one getting it. For example, these days I'm the one that answers the Twitter. I respond or give something. It's always me. So when I said, okay, one of our founders is basically me. Because I didn't know what did you want on an interview. Okay, it's gonna.
Well, I appreciate you answering me, because there's people that just don't respond, and I'm trying to get a variety of people from, around the world eventually, and I've got some Canadian, guests, and you're my first guest from Mexico. I've had, a couple from Puerto Rico, which isn't, it's part of the U.S. But
well, if you want input from this guy, from my friend, that he was never indoctrinated. He should be quite an interesting addition to your podcast. It comes from a very special background. He never deconverted. He always like that, and he is pretty much inoculated against the conversion or a religious
so it just never made sense
if you want. Exactly. For him, it's very, very difficult to grasp how is to be a believer. It doesn't make any sense. How could you believe these things? How could you believe in that shit? You say, okay, you just believe it because you absorbed it at a very young age from figures of authority.
Yeah.
So you just did. For him, it's very different. So if you're ever interested and can, and his English is way better than myself. He talks like like a British or an American. He actually can make accents up and stuff. He's actually a lot better than myself. I actually hope that I was good enough for your podcast.
Absolutely. We're having a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. And if people want to get in touch with you, is there a way, what's the best way to do that?
Sure. Twitter. Okay. Twitter. These days, Twitter or Facebook. For Twitter, I'm gonna share it with you. Is the one you already have my Twitter, right?
Yeah, it's the Ramas.
Yeah, or from the podcast again is Masa Critica, and we can go on the show, and if they want to share their experience and stuff, it's always good stuff for the show. So it's good. Again, what else? My Twitter. I'm on Facebook too, but Facebook is more for friends. I don't accept everyone there, but they can follow me on Twitter and always go ahead and respond. I'm trying to get to my 500 followers. It's looking good, but it's still a way to go. And I'm usually available to answer a tweet or something, or get into a conversation. It's gonna be a rough year ahead of me. I think is the hardest year of my life coming up.
Yeah, you're starting a business.
But I think in the end it's gonna be worth it for a quick tweet or two, or getting in conversation, or in the middle of the show. Again, if you want to share it, the show is 10:30 every Tuesday on Tuesdays, 10:30 on Spreaker, and you can ask through the Twitter, and if you can share my Patreon page, that always helps too. It's great. Okay, if they can part with $1 or $2, it's awesome. It really helps. If they can't, it's okay. Come and hear the podcast. Come and share. Come and interact. But if you can get away with $1 or $2 is tremendously appreciated, because it keeps
Awesome.
the gears going. For me, it's a great incentive. It really helps me. That small cash, that petty cash, is really helpful to me. You can't believe how much it helps us these days. And well, it's really helpful. So again,
Probably
Twitter
easiest.
is the easiest way usually to get in touch. Yeah, or the Ateos Mexicanos también. It's socially. I monitor those three: Masa Crítica, Ramas Night, and Ateos Mexicanos. I have always them with in my mobile. I usually answer within a day,
Cool.
at the most maybe hours. And if I'm a little bit have some free time, I usually go ahead and answer right away. So if they have any doubts, again, I'm sorry we can't give any more advice or any more help, because we are
Mm-hmm.
not that active these days.
Well, maybe someone else who's listening will, who lives down there will, get inspired to start another group in Mexico. And
Yeah, it's not easy. Believe me, it's not easy. After all these years, I
wow.
haven't seen any other. I'm gonna say it here in your podcast again. If someone wants to use, the image of the organization, wants to start a project, though, we're happy to lend them. Okay, we can get into a talk. Okay, I want to do this and this. Okay, if it looks fine. We can sponsor you, and it's different to start a project under an umbrella organization instead of just
Yeah.
going it and doing it for yourself. It gives you credibility. So if someone who wants to do something, it's okay. It's there, and I think we can make it work, as long as is one of these next 2 years. I'm so busy, but eventually it's gonna be about. I think it's gonna be better.
Well, this was a great interview. I really loved. You have a unique story and a unique political perspective. There's not a lot of atheists I talk to that are libertarian or even conservative. So I like that you have your own unique views. And
If you ask me, think about this. You can be a homophobic. You can be against abortion. You can be against gay marriage and whatever. As long as you don't lobby politicians or the state to take those rights away from other people, you're okay. I have a couple of people in my family that are like that. I have an uncle that is very homophobic. I don't like, if he would know that a gay person was in his house, he will
whoa,
throw him out. He says, okay, as long as they do whatever in their homes and their house, if they marry, I don't care. But in my house, I don't like them. And he's in all his right. You allow the people you want in your house. It's your property. That's
I
libertarian.
mean, yeah, I mean everybody has the right to let people in or not let people into their home, but
You
yeah,
always discriminate. You discriminate with your wallet. You discriminate in your friendships. You discriminate all the time. The thing is, you don't lobby the state to take the rights away from people.
yeah, no, that's important.
Exactly. So that's something that we can, if we could get an act like actual grown-ups about this, it wouldn't care. It's like, okay, you can be okay. Most likely, you'll get pretty alone. You'll get pretty lonely. But it's up to you. It's your right to be an asshole. And something that's wrong or okay with America is that it's full of assholes, just like in Mexico. It's full of assholes. It's your right. It's your, okay, I'm going to go this. It's your God-given right to be an asshole, as long as you are not intolerant and you lobby or ask politicians or the state to make legislation to fuck people up.
Yeah,
And it's difficult to say this, because people think that, oh, okay, being intolerant is just being against abortion or something like that. No, being intolerant is actually going and doing something.
yeah. Take away the rights of other people. Take away the freedoms of
Exactly.
other people. Yeah,
And you can never feel more free in your country as when you get and rally together to take the rights away from other people.
yeah.
And I
That's not
want, I
good.
want to finish this interview, if you allow me, with one small anecdote I read about it like 4 or 5 years ago. This was in San Luis back in like 2013 or something like that, 2012. They were voting against for gay marriage in San Luis, I think.
Okay.
They interviewed this woman, this black woman, that said, "Okay, we didn't suffer all these years about discrimination, about racism to allow some fucking gay guys to get married.
Wow.
Is that shocker? Okay, we didn't come all this way against racism, against discrimination to allow a couple of fucking gays to get married. It's so fucked up. That's when I came up with the term, you can never feel as free in your country and when you rally together to take the rights away from other people.
Wow.
She was being an intolerant. She was okay
Yeah.
being a conservative. Okay, she doesn't like
Yeah, it's so amazing. People don't see it when it's them.
the
Yeah.
iron. You could cut it with a knife. Like it's like plain as day. And she was oblivious to it. And that's something that is nice about being a skeptic, but it's also awful because you notice that. You have to endure that.
Exactly.
That's the humanity. That's the hard part and the good part. The good part is you notice. You like the woman didn't notice, but you notice. And the bad part is actually noticing.
Yeah. Because then it's frustrating. Yeah. Well, I'll let you go, and I appreciate your time. Thanks for carving out time and doing this. Again, it was awesome. I had a lot of fun talking to you.
You too, Steve. So take care and see you around. Thanks for the interview. Hope you have a great night, or I don't know what time it's over there. You're Pacific?
Yep. So it's 10:30.
It's 10:30. Okay, it's awesome. It's past back here. But okay, have a great night, Steve. Hugs and kisses to the family, to your kids, wherever. Have a great day.
All right.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because it's night. I need to go. Let's get some sleep.
Thanks for listening to Voices of Deconversion. Be sure to join us next time by subscribing to the podcast. If you have a deconversion story you would like to share, email us at steve@vodpodcast.com.
And I'll do the intro later. Like, when I'm editing, I'll do like an intro so we can just kind of jump in or whatever, if that's cool.
Give me 1 second. Let me get a beer.
Go for it.
This is nice shit.
Yeah?
Mexican beer, but not that Corona shit.
What's the brand?
That's good. Victoria.
Huh. Okay.
Victoria. Another one I love here is Pacifico.
Okay.
This is actually the same brewery that makes Corona.
Oh.
But Corona is shit to me. I don't particularly fond of Corona.
I don't like Corona. Yeah. Sometimes I can do like the Negro Modelo. Could do that.
Yeah, it's good. That one's good,
Yeah.
but that's the other brewery.
Yeah.
Two biggest breweries here is Modelo and Cuauhtémoc, Moctezuma.
Okay.
That's
Cool.
okay. So go ahead.